But yeah, to go back to the topic, what were we talking about? The choices, right?
Yeah.
The demon lords. That was it. The undead are of course also going to have it. They had I already designed a unit for them actually, the Death Lord, to be trainable.
Okay.
To be put to the Quetzar nexus, like Ornasian's nexus, because he's using undead demons. And they were actually already in the second human book during production. I had to remove them because for some reason they caused a crash, which was another of those moments where you wonder why the hell does this cause a crash in Warcraft 3
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. It was something, apparently it was the unit AI or something stupid like that. And not AI, ID. And it was just very weird. Anyway, that was the first time when I had the idea of having those vanguards, because when Durs has the holy powers of his little grail there that he has, and he really does have a lot of power. I mean, you've seen him fight.
Yeah,
You know that he's quite strong, actually.
Yes, yeah. Very difficult.
Yeah. And I was like, and then I felt that him having the ability to turn actual demons into, well, not demons that serve him. Let's not talk about how willingly they serve him.
I was gonna say, are there any lore implications here that people are gonna like nitpick into eternity? Like, well, if he can do that, why didn't he just like change all the demons after the first Void War to be on their side?
Well, he wasn't on the continent in the, after the first Void War.
Gotcha.
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
He could. Who knows what he did in Rodan, on the Imperial continent? Who knows what happened to the poor demons who fought him? Who were foolish enough to resist the Van Durs. Who knows?
I'll tell you what happened. Their demon gates were destroyed by airships that flew around their base. That's what happened. They flew around the outsides of the base and didn't bother with anything. That's what.
Speaking from experience.
It's the only way.
Yes. No, I mean, Marin is like the reason why Vendors has these advanced things. So yeah, It is putting in an edge. But yeah, Vendor, I was like, there is going to be. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to explain it in the lore yet, but I'm going to add it, and I don't give a. I don't. Maybe it's just going to be a gimmick, but I'm pretty sure I'm going. I already know a way including it in the lore. Because, I mean, I don't know how much you remember of Vendors' Grail item that he carries around.
Not much, no.
It has this special blood in it. I was actually asked about that in the Arcane question time. About him, I am actually going to have to check it up.
I do like all the flavor text that you added. Like, speaking of like the Grail, like every hero has like an item or maybe two.
Yeah.
That just gives a little bit of flavor text, and it's there's an availability to look at that if you want, but you don't have to. I like that, like, there's a lot of content there that it's optional, but is pretty deep.
Yeah, I mean it is pretty interesting in my opinion to add these options, because you don't have, as you said, you don't have to read it. I'm expanding that even more in the True Story of Arkain that I'm working on with these special tabs in the quest log, where you have like a tab for certain geographics, like where the hell you actually are at this very moment, and about the factions you face and the characters you are meeting. Like, I'm not using it to completely replace the characters' introductions. Like, I'm not trying to use the tabs instead of the actual dialogue to tell you who this guy is. That you have to read. Like, I don't want to give a feeling that you have to read a text to know who he even is or something like that. It's more like flavor text for the items, actually, like helping who he is and making you understand the person more, but at the same time not mandatory to read.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's once again a clever way to get the player more involved overall.
I'm also really happy that I included it, because I'm still experimenting around with it, because it isn't really like dry telling you who the guy is and everything. It's the new system, I mean, it's mostly from viewpoints, like when you play as Greymore, like Clash of the Forest, as we talked earlier about. you will then read from the perspective of one of his soldiers about the characters and factions that they meet, and the geographics, like the kingdoms and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because they are all Imperial, so of course they would have a different point of view on everything than the orcs or even the kingdoms on things.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole idea of, well, not necessarily an unreliable narrator, but just like a different perspectives approach, which is neat. It kind of harkens back to the original Warcraft 3.
It's not like trying to lie to you about things, it's completely from perspective. Like, there's not like Largov. I mean, Largov is in the epilogues of the first books, the character who keeps telling you that you did the wrong thing no matter what you do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do, it was wrong.
Yes. I did quite enjoy that, yeah.
Which actually ties in quite well now that you think about it, how it was actually Eridon misremembering everything.
Yeah.
When you want to make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now it's more like, in this case, it's more like, of course, and maybe this character is deluded, like he thinks that from an Imperial perspective, Imperial thinks that the Empire is great and has no flaws and everything, while an Orc is like, yeah, the Empire is completely fucked up or stuff like that.
Sure.
Which I guess some people could argue it actually is, considering who's in charge.
Well, just given the general richness of the amount of factions and things that you have included here, there's an opportunity to be able to tell a story from all those different perspectives. So I think that's it all kind of works out really well. I think people can put in like a lot of thought onto like, oh well, my protagonist looks at things this way, but like the fact that you have so much backdrop kind of prepared in a way, it allows you to kind of go pretty ham on a lot of these different ideas.
Yeah. Especially the true story is going to expand on that even further. Like, I think you remember the Imperial regiments that you had to face in the second Orc book?
Yes.
Like your favorite, the Wolf regiment that kept attacking you while the undead were attacking everyone, for example. You actually meet the general of the Wolf regiment in the first Imperial mission that you play now.
You know, this is what's the? There's an effect. I forget what it's called, but it's like where you see something once and then it starts showing up everywhere. Let me look this up really quick. I got a comment about this specific thing today. Where I'm gonna just pull it up really quick.
Yeah.
Because again, this video was from so long ago. The odds of me getting a new comment on it are pretty low. Jay Barino, let me kill the undead that's killing Wolf Regiment. Also, Jay Barino, why is Wolf Regiment attacking me? Question mark. And I got this comment an hour ago, so it's oddly coincidental.
I didn't write that comment.
Those jerks. Yeah, so for all you viewers, again, I'll link like the Arcane threads on Hive in general, but there's like Shar has news threads up, and I saw the threads about like the Orc clans and the different regiments and stuff, and I think that's really interesting how it's a way that you can introduce player choice by like picking which regiment you play as, but it won't necessarily affect the outcome of the story, which because it's the true story, you can't really give the player that much flexibility.
Yeah, I think it's a nice idea because the leadership boni were probably the best racial mechanic that I had come up with, because the other two didn't really work out for various reasons. Technical, actually, in part. Also a Warcraft thing. But yeah, the leadership boni were a very nice way, and I think the regiments and the clans and the Nexai, they all offer you, even if they don't like affect the story. For example, the first mission where you play as the Clash of the Forest, the very first Arcane mission, so to speak, you can now choose between Blend's Grey Guard units and the Wolf Regiment instead. Like, it makes gameplay quite different because they're very different from each other. The Grey Guard is your standard human faction, while the Wolf Regiment is using fucking werewolves now. So it is different. At the same time, it's still the human race in a way.
Yeah.
But it gives you more.
It's not
it's werewolves,
quite,
yeah. Yeah. You still have human priests, chaplains, so to speak. See, it happens to me as well.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's still a way to have you experience different gameplay without having to think too deep about what story impact it has, because of course it is a nice thing. As I said, I don't want to completely remove story choices, but at the same time it makes things harder. Like, I'm trying to include more stories that, while they do have effects, don't mean that things that I want to be set in stone, for example, who is going to become Queen of the Elves, make no sense when it actually happens in a completely different way. I don't want to break that.
Yeah,
If
that makes
any
sense. Yeah, that does make sense. That's it's not an easy task, I imagine, because you have to go through every single thing and make sure that it's consistent now.
Yeah, and that's just not. I mean, I'm getting old.
You and me both, yeah.
Yeah. Sometime, one day, we will wake up and won't remember who we even are. No, I hope not. I don't think we should joke about that. Anyway, what I wanted to say. What did I want to say, actually? See, that was just talked about. I was just making a joke about it.
Having to go back and make everything consistent after allowing for so much choice previously.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm actually going to... I'm currently not entirely sure if how it works, but for example, I also have a mission in mind at this moment that I'm working on, where you can choose your faction, and it's not going to change what happens in that mission per se, but like when you play as faction A, you have different goals than faction B, for example. I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be included in the actual map yet. I still have to design it, so I don't want to get too deep into it. The base idea is because on this particular map it works. On most maps I can't go and say you play as a different faction. Now you have to do something completely different, because it doesn't work. Clash of the Forest, what play as the orcs and defeat the humans, and humans are out of the story. It doesn't work, for example. But this mission, like, you have 3 factions that are allied to each other, but each of them has a different goal. Like, one wants to... I'm actually thinking I should go into detail in this one, because it's actually something that I'm currently working on, and if I don't include it, then I don't include it. But if I include it, then great. I'm just spoilering it, but who cares at this point? Then your viewers get a little special insight today on the Arkane's true story stuff. You remember maybe the mission with the orc clans that you have to unite as Rangul?
The one where there are 1 billion red dragons in the last base?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I do remember.
Okay. You remember the red dragons, that's a good sign.
I remember not having very competent anti-air for that, but yeah, that's why I remember.
Yeah. Good news, they will probably be gone completely.
Oh, okay.
See? Shar is making something easier, who would have thought?
Yeah, why did that faction have red dragons? They shouldn't have, right?
We should have, the Mokhtar. You also freed red dragons from them in the second Orc.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I forgot about who had them in the first place. Got it.
Yeah, that was them. So it made sense. Don't worry about that. There is consistency. No, the thing is, instead of that, like, have more of a clan war. Like, you can choose to play as the Death Priest clan with Rangul. Then you have to defeat the large clans to gain control over the orcs. Mm-hmm. At the same time, that's actually something that didn't really pop up in the orc books, apart from some dialogue options. There are, of course, not just the great clans, there's also the smaller clans, countless of them actually. They're just not important and don't really have any mention because they're just small. The idea was to add them on the map, and while Rangul does not really care about them, if you chose to play as the Darkmine clan with Wrath instead, you wouldn't attack the large clans because Rangul is doing that. I can't say the name of my own character, for Christ's sake. Something is wrong today.
I understand.
Yeah. Wrath would be, instead of focusing on the large clans, because the Darkman clan got screwed up pretty hard by the Imperials before, would instead focus on rebuilding his clan by defeating the small clans to slowly build up the strength of the Darkmind, so to speak. Because it gets mentioned that the Darkmind absorbs smaller clans, but you don't actually see it happen in the campaign, because the Darkmind is just fighting the other large clans along with Rangul in the first orc book. In this version, he would instead, your goal wouldn't be to kill the large clans, but instead to subjugate all the smaller clans.
So would this be a choice where the player, if the player chose Dark Mind, then that's what they would do, or is this just this would be consistent? Okay.
This would be what it was you as player. If you choose Death Priest, you fight the large clans, Skullblade and Iron Thunder and Bloodhand, for example, obviously. If you play as Wrath, you would instead focus on all these smaller clans like Broken Shield clan and other small clans like that.
Okay, interesting.
That you never ever heard of before. But in this mission, like the Silvertooth, the Chain Maul, Brass Fist, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That are never appearing in the story apart from that because they're a small clan that got absorbed by the Dark Mind. So and instead, you don't have to defeat the large clans because Rangul is going to do that for you. They are still your enemies, but you don't focus on them purely. If that makes any sense. Like,
no, that's really cool. There's the sense that the mission can be replayed from in a completely different way.
Exactly, that's the idea behind it. I'm pretty confident that I can actually. I haven't included it yet because the mission is. I still have to finish 2 other chapters before that actually happens, but I'm pretty confident that I can actually add that. Like
That's
I just
a really
said.
interesting
And
idea,
also,
yeah. So is there anything, though, that would stop the player from playing it both ways and getting items on both sets of heroes and things like that? Like, could that be exploited in any way?
No. The reason is, it would override each other.
Oh, that's right. Whichever one you play most recently. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then there would be a third option on that map, actually, where you play as the Gold Axe clan, which are from a true story, they pretty much benefit a lot from the true story of Arkain, the Gold Axe, because they're actually not irrelevant anymore.
Okay.
They actually matter more. They appear more often. They are more prominent. Have characters that actually matter. Like you meet them in the first orc mission, actually. The first time, and to go raid that mansion that is going to cause so many issues for the orcs later on. So they're a bit more included now, and their goal is, if I can actually work this out, I'm not. I have to, as I said, I'm still experimenting a bit. I want them to just care about nothing but making gold in that mission. I'm not entirely sure how to make that an engaging gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I wonder. Yeah, one one is like giant, massive gameplay. One is more, slightly smaller, and then one is nothing. You just collect from a gold mine for 2 hours, and then you win.
No, because the Gold Axe have. I mean, I have designed the Gold Axe completely, so of course I know things that you can't possibly know. The Gold Axe and the units are the specific clan units are completely. They exist only to actually make money in that case.
Interesting.
They even have their own technology. They invest money to get money.
That's actually that's a really cool concept. I'm intrigued to see how that turns out.
Yeah, I've already implemented it. It works like as I said, you invest money, a set amount of money, and then you just after a period of time you get more than you originally spent. And it has actually 3 tiers, so to speak. So like for first level you invest 500 gold and get once it's finished after 5 minutes, you get 1,000 gold.
Whoa.
Then there's one that gives you 2,500 gold for investing 1,000, but it takes 15 minutes to be finished. It's
like a massive investment, though. Yeah, that's like a huge return, though.
Yes. And then there's a third one that gives you 5,000 gold, but you have to invest 2,000 gold, and it takes. I actually have to calculate to be absolute. 25 minutes.
So the interesting thing there, it's tough because I really want to try that, but I also want to try the other two.
That's the thing.
I want to play them all, but it's all the same mission,
I mean, you can play them, but as I said, you play them very differently. For the Gold Axe clan, for example, you could choose to. I'm not entirely sure how I'm designing the mission yet, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to design it in a way that forces you to go attack other players. but make it more like you can do whatever the hell you want because you pay money.
Yeah.
You just want the money. You don't care about defeating them. Actually, you just want the money. For example, there's also something for the gold. I'm focusing a bit more on the Gold X clan now because the Gold X clan, unlike the other two, did not really play a major role before. It's quite small. Like the thing of the Gold X clan is that it's all about doing mercenary work. They also don't. That's why the three upgrades that I talked about, the investments, minor mercenary contracts, profitable mercenary contracts, and shady mercenary contracts. Like they're doing thing. I'm actually going to read this. Invest much gold to send some warriors away to do mercenary contract that you really do not want to know about.
That's again, this is a really cool concept. This is a lot of like stuff that we hadn't really seen, especially like macro concepts like this. Really cool tech tree ideas.
Yeah, I thought because the Gold X clan is really all about that sweet gold. It's in their name as well.
Yeah.
It was also hinted at during the first Orc book, which was the only time they really appeared previously. They're more about. It's also something that I actually have added to the first human mission. Just on a little side note here, the Gold X clan can now be given money from you as Imperial to leave you alone. Like you can either destroy their base or you can invest a bunch of money and they just leave.
Again, it's like it seems like you've already found a lot of good ideas that again it basically gets it gives the player options again that aren't like going to massively impact the way the story goes, but like can really change how the missions are played. So it seems like really strong choices.
Interestingly enough, this one I want to have a story impact later down the line.
Okay.
This particular one.
Yeah.
Anyway, to go back, the Gold X clan is all about mercenary work. They're also the kind of orcs who don't really care much about who they work for. For example, it is hinted at in the lore that they may even work for humans if paid enough to either fight other orc clans or to fight against the rivals of the human nobles, for example, like political infighting. I mean, they're orcs, so who's going to track that back to whoever paid them? At the same time, they are actually. I'm talking a lot about the Gold X clan because I just improved. I just made them. It was much more important than they were previously. They also they don't really go pillaging or fighting a lot. Instead, they appear, and if you pay them, they will actually leave you alone instead of steal the rest of the little bit that they left you behind with. As a village, for example, you can fight them or you can pay them, and they will actually leave instead of other orcs like the Bloodhand clan who would still slaughter you because they're fucking maniacs, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
And the Gold X is more civilized in that matter. So the theme is they are just doing stuff for gold. They don't care where the gold comes from. Their chieftain doesn't care where the gold comes from. They're just doing it because why not? And that's the theme behind them, that they actually in gameplay, every unit, even the ranged one of them, is able to get money from attacking buildings, for example.
So just ranged pillage.
Yes.
That's cool. Very strong.
Just more. They are very much focused on. At the same time, they have expensive units and they have powerful units to even that out. Because they have so many ways of actually making money, their units also have the best equipment because they can afford it. At the same time, the other clans would of course rumble that the Gold X clan is not doing much fighting, and that's why their weapons are all so high quality and clean and everything. And playing gold.
That's a really interesting idea. I look forward to playing that.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I will also have it like a Gold X. I'm thinking like have a Gold X clan attack a clan enough, and then they just pay you so that you stop attacking them or stuff like that.
Yeah, it works both ways. It could work both ways. Yeah, interesting.
So you make money either way. You can choose if you have to pillage them war or if you want to stop and they just give you a plain amount of money so that you get closer to your objective. That's at least the idea I have for the mission. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it's probably the way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
I talked a lot about the Goldex clan now.
Well, no, that's fine. I mean, because you would said it yourself. You know, you're like actively working on that right now. So of course that's what's going to come to mind. Also, that seems extremely unique. Again, it's. So I think maybe I don't want to speak for everybody. I think a lot of people when they heard like the true story of Arkain, I think maybe they just assumed you were taking missions that existed already, which you are, and you're just making minor changes, sort of like updating them, and it's all going to be part of one campaign. But I think the reality is you're doing like massive overhauls.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's going to be as simple as people like. It's really like, because when I originally had the idea, I was like, yeah, I'm going to make some adjustments. Like I want factions to be more unique and everything. So it also got a bit bigger than I may originally have thought. But I always wanted it to be more than just a simple rework, because I felt like, especially the first books, to speak so, really deserve getting more attention. Because in comparison to the second books, you also said that during your playthrough of the second books, that the first books just pale a bit in comparison, because the second books just quality-wise got so much larger and bigger and everything.
Yeah, a lot more options.
The first books kind of got left behind. One of the reasons for that was, of course, that I wasn't really working too much on them anymore, because I was done with them and I wanted to continue. I only wanted to fix like bugs that hurt up, or maybe some updates that I thought were cool or stuff like that, but I didn't make too major changes for the first books. They kind of were the child that was left behind, so to speak.
Sure, makes sense, yeah.
And now I'm picking it up again.
Very cool. Yeah, I really like it when people go back and they like, especially after like you take what you learn and you just like, you go back and update stuff that was like sort of already really liked, but you're making it, kind of bringing it up to par with where you're at now. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm looking forward. I like working on the true story of Arkain, and I think it's going to be quite good once it's actually finished.
Yeah, you know, I usually wait till things are like completely done, you know, but I probably will check this out just because I'm really excited about it. I hope it continues to be fun for you to work on.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I'm actually something that I'm doing. I think I'm not entirely sure yet about the campaign file, because I'm pretty sure that's not going to cause problems, because we have like over 60 chapters in the true story.
Yeah.
Including some completely new ones that I have to design from scratch. Like the names, like we have if we go with numerals all the way, we end up with chapter 66 and stuff like that. Instead, we're going more of a way of trying to split it into acts. It's still one campaign file, so to speak, but to make it a bit more separatable. Like the first act is completely finished at this point. It was more like the introduction of everything. You get to know the factions, the main characters, and now it's getting started with the first part of the story. I still feel like I felt it was a good decision, because there's still going to be a split in some kind story-wise between the first and the second books, even if I added no more missions in between, simply because the second books, when they start, there's like completely new scene where everything plays and everything just changes. When you enter Karel and you meet the Golden Guards arrives and you realize, shit, there's going to be new problems.
Yeah. Interesting. So you said the first act is actually done.
I'm calling it first act, yeah.
Okay. So is that what's released in the demo, or you have a bunch of unreleased stuff?
In the demo, there is currently the complete first act. Actually, I'm still working on some stuff, so don't play it now.
Okay.
There have been some. I'm still working on, like, there's a few improvements that I still want to make to the first act and stuff like that. But yeah, I think in the version that I'm going to release not too long in the future, because I'm mostly finished with the next chapters that I want to add. They're of Act 2, but the first act is mostly done. Both bug-wise fixed and everything else set up in a way that I am satisfied with it. But I'm still checking for bugs and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I guess is there anything you want to talk about regarding the true story? Is like before we wrap up here, you want to like give us any other teasers? I mean, you gave us a lot of information like with the gold axe and stuff. So like maybe there isn't anything. I was just wondering like, is there anything like exclusive you want to share that might be new coming up with True Story?
Yes, there is going to be a Dreadlord with a top hat.
Is that the guy with the monocle too?
Yes.
Top hat, monocle, Dreadlord. Okay.
Yes. And yes, he's not a meme. He's not actually a meme.
I feel like he's gonna be no matter what, though.
I mean, yes, he's going to be a meme, but more than just a meme.
Okay.
And, of course, the True Story of Arkain is going to include a lot of more, since I want to wrap it up and not just a joke at the end. It's going to have a lot of factions that are expanded more, because there's stuff like I've already included some factions in updates for the first books. For example, if you remember the final mission of the first Orc book, where you have to kill poor Celior, who by the way has more backstory now. Anyway, to wrap it up, those factions are now not just no names; they actually have some lore behind them.
Okay.
As I said, the Wolf Regiment now has werewolves in their ranks. The Bull Regiment is made of actual, not bulls, but they have muscles like bulls, so to speak. The Phoenix Regiment is using phoenixes and stuff like that. So
awesome. So it's not just border wall guards.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Border Guard is actually replaced with a Bear Regiment, which was born out of a Bull Regiment, but I think I'm going too deep into stuff again.
That's awesome though. Again, I think this is exactly what people want to see though. That's exactly it. Is like you have all these cool factions, and like there's so many choices around them, and the diversity of the factions. The fact that you're elaborating so much on each of them, I think, is exactly what people would be hoping for. So looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'm also looking forward to explaining and creating more, because it's really fun to do. I like the writing of Arkain, I like the mission design, I like pretty much everything about it, even if it means adding bears along with werewolves.
and dreadlords with top hats.
No, that's classy.
Really adding the class that Arkane's been lacking all this time, right? Finally.
I mean, we didn't have a hero with a top hat so far.
Yeah, there's a first for everything.
A Dreadlord with a top hat is still the best thing I've ever added to this campaign. There's nothing that beats that.
Well, I will again make sure to link all the Hive workshops, the hosted thread on Hive regarding Arkain, where you can find the short stories, you can find the news threads. You can find a thread with all of my playthroughs in them too, which I don't know why you'd need that linking from this video, but it's there.
You can also just link your own playlists, actually.
Yeah, I that would be maybe a little too much self-promotion on my own videos, but yes.
I mean, it's literally in the thread you mentioned. Your playlists are literally in the first post.
Oh, nice. Okay.
I'm adding them also. Yeah.
But yeah, I'd recommend people check it out. The maps aren't as crazy as you might think. There is a hard mode. You could just play it on normal. I've had a good time playing them. And you should just keep up with the project. It's something that seems to be pretty consistent and active within the Warcraft 3 community, so it'd be nice to see people continue to support it. And yeah, any last thoughts, Shar Dundred?
Just thank you for having me here. It was really nice being able to talk about these things. I also recommend checking out Jay Barino's playlists, because I find them very enjoyable.
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Very nice.
Maybe I can also add co-op mode eventually, and then we can play Arkain together.
Is there going to be an insane difficulty?
I'm not
We'll
the
skip
author
that.
of the two. I'm not the author of the two-player campaign of the original campaigns.
Nice. Well, thanks again, and yeah, everybody, make sure you check out Legends of Arkain, and you could leave questions for Shar in the comments, and I assume you'll respond to them or try to. I don't want to speak for you, but yeah, you can leave comments for both of us.
Well, I mean, now I have to.
I've obligated you into it. Yeah.
No problem. Absolutely no problem. They can also go to the forum to ask questions and everything. I'm completely open to that kind of stuff. I also love seeing people speculate about the story and everything. It's just fun to see everything
Perfect.
related to Arcane because I just enjoy spending time with Arcane.
Yeah, we do too.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm going to try to maybe restart the series, and we'll get someone else on. All right. See you next time. Bye-bye.